very perplexing. Why do some people get healthy, fit and strong and stay that way for the rest of their life? Or they live their life as a healthy, fit, strong person all of their life. And some people start and they get energetic and they look good and they feel good and they're exercising regularly, and then they stop. And then there's some people that just never exercise at all. And according to the statistics in the Western world, there's about 9 out of 10 people that either don't want to exercise ever, or even if they are exercising, they're not enjoying it and they're not getting the results that they want from their exercise program. So the challenge, of course, with all of that is that we're fatter, sicker, weaker, more depressed. The world is in really bad shape physically, and yet the thing that's going to keep us healthy, fit and strong, energetic and lean for the rest of our lives is something that people don't want to do. So why is that? And it's been a really perplexing question for me all of my life, because I have been exercising all of my life. And as I always share, I don't say that to impress. I haven't missed a day of exercise since I was 10 years of age. And now I'm a very old lady. But I have also eaten food, had a shower, gone to sleep, worn clothes, breathed air. There's some things that you have to do every single day, and for me, exercise is just part of that. But obviously, for most people, 9 out of 10, it's not something that's even a priority, and even if they think they need to do it, they don't. So the big question is, why? Why? So how about this? And this has hit my headspace just in the last couple of days, because people often share with me, in the last 2 days, 3 separate people have said to me, you obviously exercise for hours and hours every week or every day even. I don't have time to do that. I'd love to be as fit and strong as you are, but I don't have time to do all of that exercise. And is that the challenge? That the process, people think that the process of getting healthy, fit and strong is so long, so tedious, so boring, so fanatical, so hard, that even if they want to be healthy, fit and strong, they just can't be bothered with the process. And whose challenge is that? Now, I have to take responsibility for that because I've been an exercise professional all of my life. But because I've studied anatomy and physiology very carefully for all of my life, it's really exciting to know that exercise should be short. If it's long and boring, it's never going to work, apart from the fact that nobody wants to stick to it because it's long and boring. But if you are taking a long time to do something, it means that you're not working at 100% effort, so you can't possibly get 100% result. So there's a great question to ask first. Is it possible that people that start an exercise program don't even get the results that they want? So that's why they stop. Or the process is so hard. Now, here's a really interesting question. If you exercise and somebody says to you, what is it that you do to stay healthy, fit, lean, energetic? Do you then brag about how much exercise you do? Hours and hours in the gym, 5 days a week, 45-minute classes. I run 10 kilometers every time I go out. I really push myself really hard for very long so that I can be healthy, fit and strong. Well, there's 2 things there, of course. You can go short and hard, or you can go long and slow, but you can't do both. If you want to train hard, it has to be short. So why do we tell people that we do lots and lots of exercise? And the answer, of course, to that is that people do lots and lots of exercise. But do we have to? So for me, the most important question is, what's the least amount of exercise I can do to be healthy, fit, lean and strong and have all of my body working effectively? And if I, as the exercise professional, am a fanatic, if I'm talking about the hours and hours that I do and the marathons that I run and the mountains that I climb and the 7 days that I go to the gym every week and the 27 exercises I do and how hard it is, and even more horrible for most people is I can't have, mustn't have, shouldn't have all the foods that I love. So it's not only a fanatical exercise program, it's also a fanatical eating plan. And so many times people have shared with me, and again in the last couple of days in particular, that I'd love to be healthy, fit and strong, but I love my food. I don't have the time to exercise. I don't want to do all of that stuff. I'd rather be a little bit chubby and a little bit unhealthy and a little bit unenergetic or a lot out of shape than have to do all that really hard work. But there comes the really serious question, because now as a world, as a Western world, and sadly the rest of the world's coming along pretty quickly, we are really fat and really sick and really diseased, and we're really depressed. So what do we need to do about that? And not only does that cost everybody a lot of money, you can say, well, the government pays for it, but we pay taxes to the government, of course. So it's costing everybody a lot of money for the world to be fat, sick, weak, diseased, and depressed. So what do we need to do to make it easy and simple rather than hard, long, and boring? And hard, long, and boring doesn't work. Isn't that exciting? But here's the interesting thing, and this is where it gets a little bit twisty. The people that do exercise, and there's not very many of them overall out of 8 billion people, the people that exercise regularly seem really proud to say, I exercise for hours and hours, and or they think they have to. And if you give them an alternative, because I always share with people this very simple question: if there was a shorter, faster, more effective, safer way to get the results that you want, would you do it? And most people don't want that answer. They don't want the easy, fast, quick, simple way, because they think it needs to be hard, long, and tedious. So if it's hard, long, and tedious and boring, and I can't have, mustn't have, shouldn't have, don't have, could that be the biggest turn-off for the 9 out of 10 people that don't want to exercise? Because they think it has to be that. So of course the question is, if 0 is the number that most people choose when it comes to exercise, I don't do anything or I don't want to do anything, the further we get away from 0, the less likely people are to do their exercise program. But that's what's so exciting, and this is where I'm now begging. If you are an exercise professional, a personal trainer, a gym owner, social media, fitness influencer, if you're giving advice about exercise, and even if you think that you have to do hours and hours of exercise, what if you didn't have to? What if the body worked most effectively in the phosphate system, and the alphabet of energy to do anything comes from the phosphate system, the lactate system, and the aerobic system in the human body? The aerobic system we live in, which is not very challenging because we're there 24/7 for most people. The lactate system's horrible because it produces a burning sensation in your muscles, and for some people it makes them feel sick. So if you work in the phosphate system, because there's only 3 energy systems, if you choose the 100% effort system, it's only 10 seconds. Now, I bang on about this every single day. The general public, because they've been brainwashed into thinking exercise is hard and boring and long and tedious and fanatical, think that 10 seconds is not enough. And the people that are already exercising are so scared to do less because they think they might get fat or they'll lose their muscle, or maybe it's there's a lot of people that just seem to they like to brag about how much exercise they do. But it's not helping, is it? There's a great expression for that. If you keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result, that's called insanity. And is it possible that we are literally, as a planet, becoming unhealthy, unfit, diseased and depressed more and more every day? And to me, that is insanity, because all of those things are preventable and curable. Doesn't matter how sick you are, how depressed you are, how fat you are, how weak and sick and all the horrible things that happen to the human body when it's inactive. Doesn't matter where you start from, whether you're 15 or 25 or 75. If you start doing something today at 100% effort, you will get fit and you will get strong. So it's a really good news message, but why isn't it getting through? Maybe as exercise professionals, maybe as people who do exercise, we're so busy bragging about how much we do that we're turning everybody else off. So this is my standard response when somebody says, Rowie, how much exercise do you do? And some people don't even ask. They make a statement. You obviously do a really large amount of exercise because you're healthy and you're fit and you're strong and you've got a stack of energy. But my answer is always very different. Number one is I do as little as possible. To get fit and get strong, I do as little as possible. I lift weights as little as possible, and I sprint as little as possible, which is 10 seconds. So I lift really heavy for 10 seconds, and you really only need to do one exercise if you really study your anatomy and physiology and how the human body works together: endocrine system, central nervous system, skeletal, muscular, cardiovascular system. At 100% effort, if you lift something really heavy up off the ground and put it back down again, you're using every system in your body. And in the 10-second phosphate system, that's not very long, is it? So what if the littlest or smallest or tiniest amount you could do would be to lift something once, maybe twice a week, heavy off the ground for 10 seconds? And the next question is, Rowie, why do you exercise? How often do you need to exercise? And my answer is always the same. How often do you want to feel good? So 10 seconds of sprinting, 10 seconds of high intense activity to get puffed at 100% effort in the phosphate system. I do that multiple times throughout the day. But not all at once. 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there. Punch the bag, skip rope, do jump squats, run up a hill, run through some soft sand, sprint on the cross trainer, sprint on the treadmill for 10 seconds. Because every time you get stressed, or every time you don't feel happy, or every time somebody annoys you, or every time you just want to feel great, if you get puffed for 10 seconds, you'll feel even greater, even if you started happy. But if you're having a bad day, or you're stressed out, or things aren't going well, and then you sprint doing something for 10 seconds, it gets you really puffed at 100% effort. Apart from the fact that you'll get a 100% result, because that's the best way to get fit, but it's only 10 seconds. So whether you're unfit, out of shape, old, sick, diseased, doesn't matter. 10 seconds is a very short period of time. It's about as close to zero as you can get. So if we keep talking about fanatics and can't have, mustn't have, don't have, shouldn't have, and you have to exercise for hours, is it possible we're turning people off? And maybe that's why we're getting sicker and sicker and fatter and more diseased and more depressed. Versus, what if? And all I'm asking, I'm in the begging position. If you study your anatomy and physiology, if you study the energy systems, if you study how the human body actually works, most importantly, the endocrine system, your hormones, the ones that not only keep you alive, that's the fight and flight system in the phosphate system for 10 seconds, but make you feel fantastic, which is your emotions and your feelings, so that you want to live your life to the max. And I bang on every day, 10-second sprints, 10 seconds to lift heavy, so that you can live your life to the max. What if it was that simple? Could the rest of the world, not just me, live life to the max? Would that be a great thing? Live your life to the max. Super duper doo, how are you? Living my life to the max. Woohoo!